Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for joining us again here on another episode of Faraj Podcast. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate everyone on the birth of Imam Zaman alayhi salam, our master, our Imam, our savior, our hope, and our refuge. I hope that the collective prayers we send to the heavens this year hasten the reappearance of our beloved Imam and we can be reunited with him in a world of justice and peace and compassion and humanity. We just wanted to take this opportunity to discuss some more in-depth topics about our relationship with Imam Zaman here on Faraj Podcast. And Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with the opportunity to once more be joined with my dear sister and friend, Sister Siddiqa. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum salam.
Thank you so much for being with us. And
This is a topic that I'm quite excited about.
really, so am I. And also, As'adallah yawmakum. And this topic that's got me a little worked up here is not just the month of Sha'ban is so full of joyous occasions, right? And I think it's maybe the only month that doesn't have any shahada in it. And, you know, we Shias, we really bask in these celebrations. It's like we recharge ourselves for that spiritual marathon that comes up during Shahr Ramadan.
One of the signs of a Shia is that in the joy of the Ahlulbayt they are joyous, and the sorrow of the Ahlulbayt they are sorrowful.
Exactly. And alhamdulillah that we've been given that opportunity and blessing. But also, I think it's a good idea to every once in a while celebrate these joyous and auspicious occasions through more than just songs and nasheeds and sweets and desserts and lights and dress. All of this is awesome,
And
right?
also the best part
Yeah.
of the celebrations.
But also, like, we can celebrate the Imams through a deeper remembrance and through deepening and strengthening and fortifying our day-to-day connection with them. And also, I think what makes this discussion even more interesting is that we want to talk about the role of women specifically in relation to Imam Zaman and the time of Dhuhoor, especially.
Especially the
Right.
Dhuhoor. Yes.
So let's just dive into it.
Yeah. So when we're looking at the time of Dhuhoor, now obviously we need to get right into it because there's quite a lot of things to cover, and we have, one opportunity of maybe 30-40 minutes and we
Right.
want to get through everything. So unfortunately we do have to dive right into it. But when it comes to the time of Dhuhoor especially, those who will rise with the Imam are generally divided into 4 groups. So the first will be those close companions who are known as the 313.
Right. Like the generals, top generals.
Yes, and they when the Imam rises, as soon as he rises, these 313 will reach by his side in Makkah either instantly or over the course of that same night.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the first 3. They will reach the Imam instantly. Now, there's discussion of whether the women within this 313. And when we look at a hadith, there's some sort of indication of 50 being there, 50 women, but those hadith are mursal, and also it doesn't really add up with when we look at the rijal and we look at the hadith and the background of it. We cannot with certainty say that there will be 50. So we are based on the hadith that we have. This is
That number isn't very reliable.
Yeah. And the 313 will be men, and will become clearer why it'll be men. The second group will be those who will gather under the commanders of the Imam's army, and that's between 10,000 to 12,000 in number.
Right.
And these again are those first ones who respond. And after this number is ready, that's when the movement and uprising will begin. Then the third group are the supporters who will join after the uprising has begun. And this number will continue to increase.
Right. The truth seekers of the world.
And then the fourth will be those who have already passed away. And then they will
Revive.
the reappearance. And this as well, there is indication there'll be 13 women from the past who will rise with the Imam. But another thing to say over here is, we have hadith that talk about Dua Ahad. Whoever recites Dua Ahad will be given the chance to rise with the Imam as well. And this is where the women can come in. But there are other indications as well as to where women will play a role. But overall, we divide them into these 4 groups. And that is the initial division.
Right. So, across these 4 groups, I guess from the army onward, we can lean toward the fact that there will be women participating directly in the uprising. Is it not so?
To kind of look at that, we have to see what happened in the time of it basically requires a historical analysis.
Exactly.
And that we need to see what role the women played from the time of the Prophet and the Imams all the way to Imam Mahdi's time, Ghaibat al-Sughra, for us to be able to understand what role women can play at that time.
Because oftentimes when we say the army, directly our minds go to, people bearing arms and doing, army activities, but army is vast. The thing with armies is that they are created out of different divisions, right? And
you have the main one at the front, then you have a support system
exactly
that works alongside them.
Exactly. And the army will fall apart without that support system. And it'll be interesting to know who's behind those lines. So you were saying that we need historical context, right?
Yeah.
In order to understand, because there's always this pattern, in order to understand what women's role is going to be during the time of Dhuhoor and in the rank of Imam Zamana alayhi salam, we need to look back to see what our sisters have done, our female leaders have done during the time of the previous Masoomin. So how did that look like?
So a lot of the time, in the time of, like, for example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to have women who used to do the cooking, the supplying water,
attending the wounded,
the sick. They used to take care of the sick, transporting water and food to the battlefield, sometimes even evacuating the martyrs, and it was even going to the extent of preparing the medication for them. So they used to go to the battlefield,
right, exactly,
there, just not with the sword, but more behind the scenes in order to help those warriors. In some cases, they actually used to sing poetry to help those
encourage
those warriors,
right,
to go ahead and do what they have to do.
Right. And like during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a lot of stories of women who are including Sayyidah Fatima salamullah alaiha herself. There have been narrations and reports of her attending to her father when he would be on the sidelines of the battlefield, whether he was wounded. And also, it's very interesting. This is like an absolute small little parenthesis that there are things in Islamic medicine that have been learned from Sayyidah Fatima salamullah alaiha's method of medicating her father and the wounded of the wars at the beginning of Islam. And I think that's really beautiful. Anyway, please proceed.
So during the time of the time of the Prophet, you had women who would be at the sidelines helping the wounded, the sick. Let me even come to Imam Ali's time. So you see, one of the things that we can sort of draw correlation between the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam and the time of Imam Mahdi is the confusion that would surround.
Right, fitna.
Yes. So at the time of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and this is why I say Imam Ali's time is very important, and a historical analysis of the role of women at that time bears more importance. For example, in the time of the Battle of Jamal, you had the cousin of the Prophet, as the people believed, fighting against, or rather it was the other way around. It was the companions, Talha, Zubair, and the wife of the Prophet Aisha, who were going to war against Imam Ali alayhi salam, who was the cousin of the Prophet. People are very confused. Two sides of the same religion fighting against each other. We believe Imam Ali is Imam, the truth is with him. وَالْحَقُّ مَعَكُمْ وَفِيكُمْ وَمِنْكُمْ وَإِلَيْكُمْ. The truth is with you, from you, and returns to you. So when it comes to Imam Ali's time, the situation was very, people didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to join, who to join, where. And the time of the Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, according to the hadith, one of the things that, for example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, I believe it's a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, at the time of the Prophet, when he rose, people were worshipping idols and stones. It was easier to deal with them.
I get it.
At the time of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, they will come to argue against him using the Quran.
Right, I get it.
So at that point, it'd be very, it's something that makes us very like, what am I
bewildered, right?
Exactly.
It's very confusing.
And as such, which is why the ma'rifah of the Imam gains much more importance today, especially for women. Because even though women are generally like, oh, yes, we have the house, we have the kids, but all of these things are what raise a generation. I mean,
Right.
you cannot raise a child on mobile and social media. They require tarbiyah. And tarbiyah comes by instilling that ma'rifah of the Imam from your heart to their heart.
Right.
You see why women are so strong in teaching aqaid is because they can,
It's that nurturing
it's that
nature.
nurturing from the time, from pregnancy, if sometimes even before pregnancy,
So,
the nursing stage, and even the child is so connected to the mother, the mother can instill all her aqaid into the child in an instant, which is why the ma'rifah for us is extremely important. So we can instill it in that child. And we'll see how that works later. And like, for example, in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, one of those rising women, one of these stars at the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam is Salma. Salma was the wife of the Prophet, right? So when the Battle of Jamal happens, Aisha invites her to partake in the war. And Salma, rather than, going or being neutral, she actively tries to stop Aisha from doing it.
so she didn't give in to peer pressure, nor did she sit on the fence.
Exactly. She actively tried. She tried to remind Aisha of what the Prophet used to say. And there's a lot of historical context, which obviously we can't go into because then it becomes very lengthy. But whoever wants to read it, some of these, for example, the Battle of Jamal and all of these things are available in books. Like, for example, one of the English books that comes to mind right now is The Brother of the Prophet by Muhammad Jawad Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
He discusses a lot of this in quite in length, the whole battle and all that happened around that time. So that's one reading, if anyone wants. It is about 2 volumes that have been put into 1 volume book, so it's quite a thick book.
Right, but it's a good read.
It's a good read as well. It gives you an idea of fitna, so you can prepare yourself not to be
Fall
sucked
into the traps.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the first one was obviously like Salma. We'll go through what she did. So one was that she would try and actively stop them from going, and she would defend the leadership at the same time. And then another thing was when she saw that Aisha's not listening to her. Now she's obviously now she's like, I've done my amr bil ma'ruf. What more? She doesn't stop this. She goes, she writes a letter to Talha and Zubayr. She tells them, you're fighting under the pretext of avenging Uthman's death. But in reality, if someone has to avenge Uthman's death, it's his own children. Yeah, not you. Why are you going? So in this letter, she's at one level she is trying to neutralize, she's trying to stop them from going to the battle. Yeah. But at the same time, she is bringing the motives to light. What you're saying, Uthman's avenging, is not the be all and all. There's something deeper. So she's exposing the motives.
You know what you said here, and I'm trying to like simultaneously while you're saying these words draw parallels between Salama and contemporary times. I think this is one of the best examples of use your platform.
Yes.
Salama, she's an influential woman, obviously, right? She has a status among the Muslims.
The wife of the Prophet,
the wife of the
Prophet.
Prophet. She has the same rank as Aisha. She is trustworthy among the people. She's a narrator of hadith. People rely on her. She
really respected.
She's very respected. And she uses that platform.
Exactly.
Right?
And she used it much more beyond that. So first she tries to de-escalate and try to not make them, but she sees this is not happening.
Right.
So then she starts sending information to Imam Ali. So she becomes his eyes on the ground in Medina. Now, she can't go to battle herself. And she does say it in one of the places when nothing works from her side. She writes a letter to Imam Ali alayhi salam. She says, I've tried, but they're not listening to me. But I know the truth is with you. And the truth, but I can't do anything. I cannot come to war because women are not going to be in war. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing the letter.
Right.
But she says, I'm sending you something that is dearer to me than myself, and that is my son Omar. So now she's done everything. Nothing works. So what she does is she's raised a child on the Wilayah of the Ahlulbayt. She's like, now take this.
There's also a lot of foresight in this and
A lot of
insight.
foresight,
It's not
yes.
like we often think that, you know, when Imam Zaman comes, I'll know, okay? And then I'll join the ranks of truth, and then everything is going to be hunky-dory, happily ever after.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
work.
work that way.
Doesn't
You
work.
have to plan ahead, my friend.
And even if you see, like, people like Talha Zubair were not like ordinary low-level companions.
Exactly.
And yet they fought against Imam Ali alayhi salam. I mean, that is...
Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed unless you hold on firmly to the rope of the Ahlulbayt and the Quran, to the Thaqalain. Really, nothing is guaranteed. And every day and night, all we can do is pray that we don't slip along the way, you know? It's called fitna for a reason.
This is obviously in the battle side of Imam Ali's time that we have been discussing. Then we go to the next Imam. So, for example, Imam Hussein's time. The best example is Sayyidah Zaynab, her sermons. Now, in Karbala, she is his support. She supports him. The wounded are brought back, the martyred, most of them are martyred, so she keeps on bringing
The
them back.
children, the widows.
Exactly. She's like the support system for Imam Mahdi.
For the Imam of her time.
Yes, she sits as a support system for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But then she starts speaking when the Imam stops. Right?
She knows her cue.
Exactly. So what it teaches us over here is that the Imam is at the forefront and you cannot speak ahead of him. You see, even namaz jama'at, what do? You cannot go into ruku before the Imam. You have to go either with or after the Imam.
Right.
And this, when you apply to the Wilayah, the Imam himself, when the Imam speaks, you have no right.
Right.
And this is but when the Imam passes away and when he dies, martyred really, then she starts her role. She starts propagating. And with this propagating of Islam, propagating of the mission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes from knowledge. You cannot propagate, you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot spread knowledge if you do not have
You're
knowledge.
empty of knowledge, right?
And this is what becomes important at the time of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam as well, because one of the roles the people will have during that time, especially the women, that women can adapt. There'll be armies fighting at the forefront, everything's going to happen. But then there's going to be, like we said, they're going to use the Quran to fight against the Imam. So at that point, it is necessary for people to sit over there and to dispel all these doubts, dispel all the deviations. And you cannot dispel it if you don't know what the truth is, which is why it is so important for women to sit. And this brings us to what Sayyidah Zaynab did before Karbala as well. She used to sit in Kufa
and have tafsir lessons.
Tafsir classes, exactly. And this is reported in Khasa'is of Zaynabiyya. That she used to give her classes, she used to teach them. And when Sayyidah Fatima used to do the same thing in her house, where the women used to come and ask her fiqh questions, they used to ask her questions and she would answer them. Meaning that just because a woman is at home, or right now, we kind of fight for this ability to be into society. But that doesn't mean that if you, for example, have taken the role of being with your children, that your role is anything
cut
less.
off of society. Exactly.
We have reached a stage in life where a woman can become a mujtahid while sitting at home.
Right. I don't know why this belief exists. You are building society. How more connected to society can you possibly be? You are building it. You are nurturing it. You are raising.
You're the foundation of it.
Exactly.
It literally comes out from you. It's your blood and flesh that you're giving to society. And
when you said Sayyidah Zainab, so Sayyidah Salma, these are just things that are popping up in my brain, okay? You can take it if you even relate to it, it makes sense to you, but I'm sharing my thoughts. Salama, when you said, I feel like, okay, she was using her platform. When you said Sayyidah Zainab, I'm thinking media. Because during that time, okay, historical context matters so much. During that time, Banu Umayyah had, since the time of Muawiyah onwards, there was so much propaganda against Amir al-Mu'mineen, like 40,000 mimbars, pulpits that would that
Were
had been
used to curse
used
Imam Ali.
exactly to spread lies and rumors about Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. And so Sayyidah Zainab, she came with this Islamic media to fight all of these propagandas and anti-truths and anti-values through her words and through the way she carried herself with the light and strength of Allah, with the courage, with that Alawi courage.
And what it also shows us is that one thing that is that she had her emotions, but she did not allow her aql and her wisdom to be blindsided because of
Her
emotions.
grief and her emotion, right?
Her grief was great. I mean,
The
grief,
greatest ever.
it,
Yeah,
it has no parallel.
exactly.
But she did not allow that grief to stop her from the actual message that she had to spread that day.
And right.
we go ahead in all the Imams' times as well. We had in the time of Imam Rida alayhi salam, we had
Sayyidah
Sayyidah Masoomae who we have her shrine in Qum.
Yeah, she truly changed the course of history.
She did.
She really, really did. I often think about what would have happened if Sayyidah Masoomae didn't come and she didn't choose Qom as her final resting place, and the Hawza wasn't established, and all these scholars and thinkers and intellectuals and writers and mufassirin and dhakirin, they didn't rise from Qom, and the world wouldn't have changed the way it had. It blows my mind. Please proceed.
That's the power of Wilayah. Because when you are under the Wilayah of the Imam, your soul is strengthened to the equal of 40 people.
Right.
Like the hadith say. And then, so obviously because we need to get through to the next bit, we just go through to, like, for example, at the time of Khaybat al-Sughra,
Mm-hmm.
you had when Imam Mahdi alayhi salam had just gone in
Minor
occultation,
occultation, right.
and it was, they were looking for him and they were trying to, obviously find him so they can kill him. At that point, what Sheikh Saduq narrates from Ahmad ibn Ibrahim, he says, I visited Hakima, the daughter of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, and I spoke to her and asked about the beliefs of the Imam, and she mentioned the name of Al-Hujjah ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam. So this narrator Ahmad ibn Ibrahim says, I asked, where is the son? So Hakima says he's in occultation. And he says, to whom should the Shia turn for refuge? And she says to the mother of Imam Hassan al-Askari, who they referred to as Al-Jadda at that time. And the Imam, the Imams had already prepared. They'd already prepared for the Wukala to start coming in, right? So you had Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri and Muhammad ibn Uthman, father and son, who was supposed to take over the first stage of Wukala as
Representatives.
as the first representatives of the Imam. But at that point, you see the Imam has to be protected. And over here, you have a woman taking that role at the start. And interestingly, around that time only, Ja'far al-Kadhab had given information that the Imam Mahdi is there.
Oh, so he leaked information.
Yes. So they they attacked the house and they tried to find the Imam so they can kill him. At that point, there were many maidservants in the house of the Imam. So one of them was called Sayqal. So they catch her and they insist she reveals the whereabouts of the Imam. And she says, I'm not going to reveal it. And she refuses. And they want to pressure him. So now to protect the Imam, she says, I'm pregnant. And everyone believes, okay, now the child is going to be born from her. So in order to protect the Imam, she put herself in danger.
Right.
So at this
a very feminine tactic.
So so what it all teaches us is that women can play different roles from social media, knowledge, media, wilayah, instilling that wilayah into your children so that when they grow up, the fitna doesn't overcome them. They know where to go.
Right.
And one of the things we were actually discussing right before this is people like, for example, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, who is the son of Abu Bakr but ends up in the ranks of Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Because of a good mother.
Because of a good mother.
Right up, it's the correct upbringing. He was nurtured with the love of the Ahlulbayt. Mothers should not take that lightly. Truly, I always think about how the course of humanity would have been if through the generations where, the phone and information and knowledge wasn't this accessible to us, mothers did not did not feed their children the love of the Ahlulbayt and the Quran, morsel by morsel, bite by bite, with every drop of their milk, what would have happened to humanity? What would have happened to the message and the cause of the Ahlulbayt if it had not been so by mothers that were oftentimes like maybe 100, 200 years in a lot of regions, they were illiterate. They couldn't read or write, but they had that wisdom, they had that insight, they had that basira, they had that khulus, that purity of intention. And we should not underestimate that at all.
And today, I think it's become much more easier to gain that knowledge, to use it, practice it, and to preach it, even if it's right from literally from within a room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't require women to go out on the streets, any protests, nothing. We do not require, we do, well, in some cases, those become a necessity, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about knowledge as that sword, the pen of author. Pen of a scholar is sharper than the tip of a sword of a fighter. That's where it comes from, because knowledge is light. It brings you, it illuminates your path for you, and women today are in the best position to have it. So from all of this, when we put all of this information together, that we've seen what happened in the past, we can see at the time of the Dhuhoor of the Imam, women can play a central role, bishart, with the condition that they prepare themselves.
And
this preparation obviously has levels.
Yes, it has its own levels and it has its own conditions. When we look at the history of Islam and the women that played a pivotal role in setting forth the message of truth, the message of Allah, we start from Sayyidah Khadija salamullah alayha and her support for Rasulullah. Sayyidah Zahra, she was Islam and she spread Islam and she nurtured Islam. And then Sayyidah Zaynab, Sayyidah Masoomae. And I feel like I see this. And then the last instant that you mentioned, Tayqal, I feel like there's this pattern of shield. Even Sayyidah Khadija, a lot of times when Rasulullah would go to Tabligh and they would start throwing stones at him, she would act as a human shield. She would block the stone so that it wouldn't hit the Prophet of Allah. And then Sayyidah Zahra, again, she shielded Amir al-Mu'mineen. And then Sayyidah Zaynab with Imam al-Sajjad. And I don't know whether we grasp that truly.
We do not.
What our position is as the protectors, defenders, and the shields of Wilayah, of the Imam. And I feel so blessed. If we were going to talk about women's empowerment, this is empowerment to me. Something worthwhile, something meaningful, something that echoes throughout history and humanity. I do believe we're almost out of time.
We are.
And this was such a lovely, lovely discussion. Thank you so very much, Sister
I think the
Siddiqa.
insights were much appreciated. They gave a much deeper depth to possibly what I would not have been able to take from history itself.
Inshallah, I hope that we find the inspiration, the strength, the courage, the light, the knowledge, the wisdom that we need in order to be the best defenders and protectors of our beloved Imam. And like we mentioned, we are reunited with him in a world of peace and justice, compassion, humanity, where children don't starve, mothers don't mourn their kids, and the word of truth and haqq is spread across the world. Once again, Eid Mubarak to everyone. If you have any thoughts and opinions and suggestions, make sure to share it with us in the comment section below. We love hearing from you. I am signing off from Faraj Podcast. Thank you, Sister Siddiqa, again. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.